Hey Jackson, curious about our water system? Join the Jackson Water Academy to get the inside scoop on our water and sewer operations. 3 sessions, 3 months, and a whole lot of hands-on know-how. You'll even get a behind-the-scenes tour of the O.B. Curtis Water Treatment Plant. So if you're ready to dive in, head to jacksonwater.com/Water Academy or give us a ring at 601-500-5200 to apply. But hurry, spots are going fast.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for WLBT Plus. My name is Kara Shirley. I am your digital news desk host, and we are continuing our series where we are interviewing the candidates for the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi. We have with us today Mr. David Archie. Hello, David. How are you?
Doing well. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great. I'm going to ask you to let's pull this up a little
Just
bit.
Just a little bit there.
There you go.
All
That's
right.
a little better. So thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come and spend a little bit of time with us here.
I appreciate you inviting me. It's kind of exciting.
Kind of exciting.
Yeah.
It's
101. 101.
I know you guys have got a very there's a very big race out right now for mayor. A lot of candidates out there.
Absolutely.
And you, of course, are running under the Democratic ticket.
Absolutely.
But let's say just by happenstance, if there is someone out there who is not familiar with David Archie and just who you are as a person, take a second to introduce yourself.
Well, I can tell you once again, my name is David L. Archie. I'm a former Hinds County supervisor for District 2. That is the seat that Congressman Benny G. Thompson held for quite some time, as well as Doug Anderson. I'm a well-qualified, connected leader. I've been a part of this city and this state and this country in terms of civil rights as a community activist and now a political activist. And the reason that I use the word activist is because if you're going to be in politics or if you're going to be involved, you need to make things happen. And when you're an activist, you make good things happen. You challenge the status quo. You go against the grain to bring about good change. You make a difference in people's lives, and perhaps you never reap the benefits, but other people will reap those benefits. And I'm asking for the citizens of Jackson to give me an opportunity, because Jackson needs a mayor like David L. Archie, someone that is from the community. I've lived in downtown Jackson, out near Highway 49, which is back in that day they called it the Christian Brotherhood's apartments. I've lived in Shady Oaks and Verdon Addition, as well as North Jackson. And so I understand the scope of this city. I've been in the worst parts of this city, and I've been to nice events in the better parts of Jackson. But I understand Jackson, Mississippi, and Jackson, Mississippi needs a lot of a lot of help. We need help from the federal government, the state government, as well as the county government. But we don't need the help that some candidates that are in this race perhaps want to give. Jackson is not for sale. I don't see a for sale sign on neither highway that the city of Jackson is for sale. I want to make absolutely sure that the citizens of Jackson get due process. And what I mean by that is that I want their tax dollars to come from the federal government, state government, county government, city government, to come back to their community to fix stuff. And for a long time, that has not happened. And I'm committing to the citizens of Jackson to make that happen, not only just in North Jackson or Northeast Jackson, but the entire Jackson. If you live in Jackson and anywhere in Jackson, you will see this mayor in your community as well as your neighborhood.
Well, tell us a little bit about how you have been involved in the community here in Jackson outside of politics.
Well, I worked for Jackson Public Schools. I worked for Hinds County Sheriff Department. And then, of course, I worked for the Hinds County Board of Supervisors. And then I also worked for the state of Mississippi as an early detection fraud prevention investigator. And so fraud has always been my thing. You know, I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from I love Jackson State University. And that has just been a part of my life. It's been interesting. I've always looked for the best in anybody, any group, whether it's government or a private entity. But listen, there are some people that are willing to do good things to benefit themselves. There are some groups just out there that really doesn't care about the community. It's what they can get out of it. I've never been that individual. It's always putting the people first. What the people want in this city matters. And they want good government. They want people that care. They want a mayor that they can put their hands on, a mayor that can ride in their community and get out and go to the playgrounds, a mayor that if you call the mayor, he will come to your address and see your needs. You perhaps can't make all the phone calls or can't get to every address, but you can certainly come and go, to those communities that need you the most. And that is my intention. South Jackson and West Jackson, they really feel like they've been left out of the process. Property value is going down. Grass is not being cut. Ditches are not being cleaned. Potholes are everywhere. And so we want to find those resources. And I know how to find those resources. I have a track record of bringing money to this county. I've been involved in nearly $170 million worth of private and public money that have came to Hinds County District 2 alone, just in Hinds County, in about 4 years. I've gone to Washington, D.C. I don't have to tell you about what I'm going to do, but I've been in the office of Sidney Hyde-Smith, Roger Wicker, Michael Guest, and Benny Thompson. I went to see them so I can bring resources back to Jackson, bring resources back to Hinds County to fix stuff.
You're talking about fixing stuff, and we've talked about this before. The infrastructure here in Jackson, our roadways are horrible. The water system has already been taken over by the federal government. It's just the crumbling infrastructure. We do need those resources and the money in here to Jackson. But what are your plans to fix those things?
So my plan is this. I understand going in. So I've traveled 876 miles of this county, which is, square miles of this county. It's different from miles and square miles, but 876 square miles of this county, which includes the entire Hinds County and every municipality that is inside of Hinds County. Jackson is only 111 square miles, right? And so I've seen almost everything, everywhere, nearly every road. You have to give a report in your yearly report and let the state know that you have done that. and I have burned a lot of gas just traveling these roads and looking at the infrastructure and the need to repair and to repave roads and streets and potholes. But what we need is about $500 million. That's a real plan. My goal is to, if I can get $250 million from the federal government, match it with another $200 million from the state of Mississippi. That's $450 million, and perhaps another $50 million from Hinds County. That's $500 million to solve our infrastructure problem when it comes to repairing and repaving roads and going under the ground and fixing some stuff that need to be fixed. There've never been a time that where the city of Jackson have had one pothole truck in every ward. I think that we need it right now. You probably spend a little less than $1.5 million to buy those potholes trucks and equipment. I think it'd be a great investment. And hire 20 employees to work for Public Works. And every day they come to work and they get in that truck and they take that pothole and paving truck to Ward 1. Ward 2 is on that truck. We want to see that truck in Ward 2 fixing potholes and repaving small thoroughfares that they can fix right away. And every ward in this city under my administration will have their own pothole truck and repaving repair truck to repair and repave roads all over this city from Ward 1 to Ward 7. It is desperately needed.
I want to make sure I heard you correct. So you said that you had the ability to bring in $500 million into Jackson to work on the roads?
Yes, and the way that you do that, right away, my first 90 to 120 days in office, I'm going to file a state of emergency. I think people are traveling on our roads are putting their lives in danger by hitting these big potholes with barrels, right? The only reason a barrel is there because the city can't afford to fix it, right? And so that is an emergency. People are losing their lives and driving around and going head on to hit someone just because that big barrel is in that road. And it is all over this city. And so that is an emergency. And so we're going to put together an application to the federal government to say, look, we have a state of emergency. The federal government comes in when we have a tornado, when we have a storm or hurricane, right? We have a hurricane in this city. These roads and streets and potholes and bridges need to be repaired. They need to be fixed. And let's just call it what it is. Jackson, Mississippi does not have the money to do that. And so that is going to be my driving force to get resources from the federal government as well as state government.
Well, let's also talk about the crime here in the city. Crime numbers have gone down, especially since Chief Joseph Wade has been in that position. They haven't gone down a lot, but they are down. What are your plans to assist the police department and help them to continue that momentum of progress and eliminating or at least curbing crime here in Jackson?
And so I'm glad that you asked that question. That's a great question. And I think the citizens need to know and they want to know. My platform is this. I'm going to create a state of emergency on crime here in Jackson, hardcore crime. People are dying in this city. We're having robberies and murders and carjacking and all of that stuff is taking place, right? As long as it does not happen to you, you kind of ignore it. But this is the deal. You got to have a plan going in as a mayor. So I'm going to propose to do an interlocal agreement with the state of Mississippi for 90 to 120 days. I want to borrow all of their law enforcement equipment. I want them to bring it and set it downtown at the Coliseum. And then I want to take a part of the budget that is allocated to hire more police officers in Jackson, where we can hire part-time police officers. They can come from Madison, they can come from Flowood, or any other police department, as long as they're certified and qualified. And we want to put them inside of the community, meaning that we want to stabilize the community. We'll take Ward 3. We need 10 officers in those communities, just riding Ward 3, patrolling Ward 3, part-time officers. And they don't have to leave that community to go on a 911 call 3 or 4 miles away. They can stay there. They can patrol the community until we run crime out of that community. And that goes for the entire Jackson. We're going to probably hire somewhere between 75 and 100 part-time officers. I don't want them going on 911 calls. I want them to be inside of the community, patrolling, making sure that grandma can come out on the porch again. If there are crimes somewhere, if people are hanging out on the street and it's going to lead to an issue or a problem, they need to be in those communities, not on the call to come there and take 15, 20, 30 minutes to get there, but already there. And we won't have to buy patrol cars. We won't have to buy trucks and equipment. I want to borrow that from the state of Mississippi. They have a lot of equipment just sitting up waiting for a disaster to happen. Well, the disaster is happening right now in and around some communities here in Jackson. And that is how you get crime under control, get in a prevention mode.
So you would have officers that are strictly dedicated to certain wards, certain areas. That's their community.
Wherever crime exists, wherever it's happening, wherever people are complaining that where we need to clean up, that's where we're going to put those officers. Now, the regular JPD officers will stay on their beat and patrol the way that they've been patrolling. We're going to come in and bring these officers in so they can stay in that community until we run crime out of that community. We are serious about getting rid of crime. And I think that is the only plan that's going to help stabilize all of our community. Whether we're going to set up roadblocks, I don't know. Whether we're going to walk the community, I don't know. Whether they're going to sit and watch those areas where a crime is taking place. Yes, that is why we want to bring those officers in that is already trained. We don't have to train them. They're already certified law enforcement officers, but they can be on part-time basis and they can keep their full-time job at the municipal or sheriff department that they're already working for. They have to never leave their job. They can work 20 to 25 hours for the city of Jackson. And I think we can get that done.
Let's talk about the blighted communities here in the area, in the city of Jackson, which one thing that we're doing here at WLBT is our year-long series on fighting the blight here. Every week we're doing a story on a different blighted area here. But that is one thing that is bringing in crime, or it is making crime more easily accessible for people to do. But what are your plans on the blighted areas, these abandoned properties, abandoned homes, businesses, or large businesses or large buildings? How are we going to fight the blight from your side?
So what I want the citizens of Jackson to understand, if you are in Jackson and if you've been here for a long time, it is government responsibility. It's the city council and the mayor, the board of supervisors, to take care of the areas that they represent. State senators, state representatives. When you see an area where people have invested in the area and you got abandoned property, blighted property, whether it's private buildings or homes, you're going to attract folks that don't have a place to live. And we call most of them homeless people that are on drugs, people that perhaps are on alcohol or have a mental ill problem. They move into your community in those properties that has been abandoned, and immediately your property value goes down, right? And if you have invested in a 1,500 square feet home or 2,000 square feet home, 2,000 square feet home. And 10 years ago, it perhaps could have been worth 125,000 or 150,000, and now it's only worth 75,000. That is government responsibility to make sure that these communities back up and running and getting blight properties and abandoned properties out of those communities. Either you're going to tear them down, find a way to get through the process a little faster than we have been able to do, right? And we're going to tear those properties down, or somebody going to fix the property up. The homeowner, I want to be able to create the same way that they did when it came to that hotel out on I-55. They stayed on it until it was done, until they got it done. And now it's my understanding that they're tearing it down. But the process was too long. People can't afford to continue to be there. We got to find a way to make the process a bit shorter, put a little bit pressure on the property owner, a little more pressure on the property owner. And many times those property owners don't live in that community. They live out of the state. So they don't care what goes on in that community until they're ready to fix the problem. But citizens that live in that community, citizens that believe in that community, citizens that are there and are present, they're concerned right now. And we got to fix that problem.
How do you plan to keep the citizens of Jackson, or to make them a part of your decision-making process? And you say that what the people want is what matters. How are you going to make sure that what they want stays on the forefront of your
man? You got such great questions, and I brought it here to kind of be prepared. I have a list of things that I've already talked to the citizens in the communities and in the neighborhoods. And the list of things that they told me that is important to them, number one is education. And so they got to be a part of telling the Jackson Public School Board what their problems are, right? Sometimes we think that we know because we run the system, but that's not always the case. We got to begin to listen to the students. We got to begin to listen to the parents and saying, look, it is not an issue when my child make it to the schoolhouse, but my issue is in between. We have a problem going to the bus. We have a problem with children in the community using a lot of profanity, right? We have a problem with a group of kids want to bluff and threaten other children, right? These are real issues in the community, and it impacts whether or not a child can focus on learning. So education is an issue, and we got to do better with that. Public safety. We got to understand that when there's a lot of shooting around every community, there is in Jackson. We don't have the process to where if a police officer comes to that community and arrest someone for shooting, they're going to perhaps write them a ticket. Just shooting in the community. You shouldn't be shooting, just unloading your firearm. It's illegal to do that. But they're not going to take them to jail because we don't have a temporary holding facility. We need a temporary holding facility in Jackson that probably hold about 300 people for up to 72 hours. A person needs to go to the process to say, look, if I'm shooting in this community and someone called the police on me, now I have a real chance of going to jail, getting a bond, having to go to court, pay a fine. That is a part of the process has been lost in and around many of our communities. The police doesn't have the power because we don't have the temporary holding facility. We only really take in hardcore criminals, ones that have committed felonies, not misdemeanor offenses. You know, clean water, always an issue. Street paving is just second to crime. I mean, everybody knows that street paving, fixing the roads are second to crime. And so we got to listen to them. When they call and say, look, we want Central Street fixed. We need it to be repaired, fix the potholes. Then we need to answer that call. We need to listen to them, not the public officials or elected officials choosing what they want to do, but listening to those citizens and fixing stuff. Lower taxes. We cannot continue to put the burden on citizens that are in Jackson. We can't put the burden on investors that are in Jackson, continuing to raise taxes in order to fix stuff, right? We got to find other ways. We got to know how to write grants. We got to have some good grant writers in the city of Jackson. We got to have some good negotiators that represent the city, that go to the state and say, look, this is what we need. Getting our Republicans and Democratic partners to vote to allocate money for the needs of Jackson, right? Because people in Jackson perhaps need more than anybody in this entire state, other than the Delta that I could see. The other thing is better services. We need to answer the phone. The citizens of Jackson need to know that we care about their needs and their wants and whatever their problems are. From AMR to Jackson Police responding, to the Hinds County Sheriff Department, to Public Works, to whatever it is that it's a government-ran facility maintenance, whatever it is, we need to listen to our citizens. We need to be able to respond to their needs and to fix stuff. That is what's happening in Madison. That is what's happening in Floatwood. So why it can't happen in Jackson? We need to put good people in place, and I can do that. I have a track record of making sure that people do what they're supposed to do, and I have, over the years, have gotten in trouble for challenging government, to force government to do and to respond to the people's needs. And I'm going to continue to do that.
Well, this kind of leads perfectly into my next question. Then let's talk about the trust that not only the citizens but the state have in the city of Jackson as far as administration and things. How are you going to increase that trust, build that trust back up so that you do have those partners that you can go to and they know that the money that they allocate to us is going to be spent on what you say it is, and that also the citizens know that if they call David's office, that what they're asking for is going to get done to the best of your ability?
Absolutely. What a great question. Under my 5-point plan, corruption is a part of it. Is number one on the list. Public officials, employees, projects where money is allocated to, we got to make sure that when a contractor comes to City Hall and they bid on a project, that they're not being overpaid for that project. If we can get that project, we'll use a number. If we can get that project done for $100,000, why are we paying $175,000, right? If we have people in place that works for the city, project managers, they ought to be educated enough and experienced enough to know good and well that if someone come in and bid $2 million to fix a project, and we know that with our experience and we have people in place to go out there and say, no, it only take $1 million to fix that problem. We only should put $1 million in repairing or replacing that project or getting things done with that project. We have to listen to those people. We can't make all the decisions and take a vote. The mayor doesn't vote. And as much as the mayor ought to be educated on the issue, the only thing that we can do is present it to the council and they take the vote. Well, the council is not out there looking at those projects. The council doesn't have the experience in the team to go and investigate to see whether or not we're overspending. That is the mayor's responsibility to make absolutely sure. And I did a lot of that for Hinds County. I brought back millions of dollars for projects that was going to wasteful spending. In one case, I got about $6 million back. In another case, got about $2 million back. Another case got about $3 million back. that went towards wasteful spendings on project. And they saw me in the news a lot on that. And I was just telling the people and the citizens the way it was. And we made sure that we took care of the corruption side. I kept telling the citizens of Hinds County, in Hinds County District 2 in the city of Jackson, there is a lot of corruption that is going on in county government. And people found out that it was. And then it's my understanding that it spilled over to city government. And so that is one of my number one thing. If you are an employee for the city and you're stealing and you buying gas for your private vehicle, you doing jobs with the city equipment, you're going to no longer do that under the David L. Archie administration. And that is how more money can go back to what? Your community, your tax dollars, getting back to your community to fix stuff. Go to your parks. Parks are needed. You know, we can have so many parks, right? And, you know, sometimes you don't even want to take your dog to the park because it's not well kept. We're not spending money. We're not cutting trees and bushes and paving the parking lot. Nothing is being done. So we're going to deal with corruption right away like it's never been dealt with before.
So you've talked when dealing with crime, dealing with the roadways, with corruption. You talked more about the roads and the crime, about getting the funding from the federal government by declaring an emergency situation here.
Absolutely.
So when that time is up, because I think you mentioned 100 days,
90 to 120
90.
days.
So when that time is up and those funds are gone, or those supplies are gone, or whatever it may be, what then? How are you going to keep it at the level that it is hopefully at a good level then?
So we'll just use the average budget for the city of Jackson. By the way, I've already balanced nearly a $500 million budget for Hinds County. We never had a deficit. We pretty much have had a surplus. And that was, a lot of it was because of my doing. I investigated a lot of stuff. I made sure that there was not wasteful spending. And so as your mayor, what we need to do is when we bring in all this state of emergency stuff and we get things back on track, then we ought to be saving money at that time and building our bank account up. Because why? The federal government is helping, the state of Mississippi is helping, and we're not having to spend the city money on those projects and on those things that we're doing. And so then you ought to be putting money back in the bank to prepare yourself for the next hard road down the road. And that's what you need to do. And under the administration, we're going to spend less and get more. Let me say that again. We're going to spend less and get more. And that is what the citizens of Jackson need. If you look at the lights and the lines and the road, you know, it's dark all over Jackson. We need to light Jackson, Mississippi up like a Christmas tree. When you get off the exits, when you go into the community, every light ought to be working. I want to get with Entergy and find out what is the cost to do that and get that money to do that, because that is a part of crime as well. When it's dark, people can go in and do more criminal activities, right? And so we need to light Jackson, Mississippi up like a Christmas tree to fix those issues, to fix those problems. When it's raining, if you drive down some of these roads, you don't know which side of the road that you're on, right? We need to be able to paint lines and roads and prepare them to make it seem like you can see that line way before you get to it. Elderly people are driving. They need to be able to see. And so that is not happening. So there's so many things that are going on with Jackson, and you just got to have a mayor that's willing to work 18 hours a day and perhaps sleep 6 hours a day to get the job done. And that is what I'm willing to do. And I want the citizens of Jackson to know you will be voting for a candidate that have already done this stuff, not somebody that got to learn on the job, right? I've balanced the budget. helped manage a public works department. Been a part of hiring people to manage Hinds County. And Hinds County when I came into Hinds County, it was in bad shape. When I left Hinds County, it was in a lot better shape than what it was when I found it. And that is what the people ought to be concerned about. Many times when you heard the noise at the Board of Supervisors and they was running down there with the news camera, they was running down there to find out what was going on. Most of the time, my argument was for the citizen, for the people. I was on the people's sides, trying to protect their tax dollars, trying to protect their money so their money can get back to the community. And when sometime we got into some heated debates and some heated argument, and they love to have that picture of me doing that, but they never talk about all the accomplishments that took place. That is the part that I wanted the news media to talk about. But that wasn't the exciting part. The exciting part was when the disagreements came about, right? And so people love to see that stuff. But there's a lot more to David L. Archie. There's a whole list I brought to you today about 70% of stuff that I have done. Medgar Evers Boulevard. The city of Jackson did not prepare that grant to go to Washington. Hinds County originally did that grant. I was a part of the very first meeting. We spent nearly $100,000 to put together that raise grant to get $20 million for Medgar Evers Boulevard. The first year, we did not receive the grant, and Hinds County was contacted by the city of Jackson, and both entities from the same county could not apply. And so we hand deliver all that information to the city. The city applied. They didn't have to spend a lot of money to prepare everything. We gave them what we had, and we was able to get $20 million for the Medgar Evers project. Over in the Fondren, if you go over there right now, there's a $20 million parking garage. Well, that money did not go to the city. It came to Hinds County under the David L. Archie administration. I was able to negotiate, convince, and was able to get the money to help build that parking garage in the Fondren. Those are real big accomplishments. And another one that I'd like to tell you about on Highway 49, when you get off the exit on Highway 49, going to the Delta, that road was paved on Highway 49 all the way to the Madison County line. I had conversation with Transportation Commissioner Willie Simmons. We looked at that project. He told me that he would get it done. I told him that I needed it done. I represented that area. And if you go up there, you can see the paving today all the way to the Madison County line from Jackson, Mississippi, in terms of that being repaved. County Line Road from 49 all the way back to nearly to the dump site or to the railroad track. That was a roller coaster road. We put about $1.3 million to pave County Line Road. I was head of that project. And so we have done Cynthia Road. By the way, Cynthia Road, right off of 49, one side of Cynthia Road leading to Clinton was done, but the other side of Cynthia Road was in worse shape, was left undone. And so we found money in our budget to pave Cynthia Road, where a lot of great landowners in Jackson, and they have been ignored for a long time. That is what I'm talking about. We are going to fix and help those people that have been left out and locked out of the process. Carla, is it Carla?
Kara.
Kara.
It's all right. I've been called a lot worse.
Hey, Kara. I want the citizens to know that I am coming to serve and not to be served. I am coming to serve the people. It's not about me. It's all about the people.
I was going to pick with you a little bit because when you said the news media wants to come and they hear the noise at the supervisors meeting, I was what noise are you talking about, David?
Well, there was one thing that the citizens never got into understanding about, and maybe I could take this time to explain it to them. And I do apologize for any actions that I took. It was a little unorthodox, perhaps not normal, but I got the attention of the people and what was going on. So they had to stop. The members of the board could no longer get away with what they was trying to get away with. The first thing had to do with the presidency and the vice presidency. It's not that they didn't want me to be the president. If you are the president of the board of supervisors, then you don't have to sign off on projects that you know are not right. The president is to get the last opportunity to look over everything and to sign everything and to make sure that that money is spent well, right? And the guy that was the sitting president, he wanted to overthrow me the next year that was coming, said, look, we're not going to let him be president because we know that he's going to look over these projects. We know that David is all about fighting corruption. David is all about not overpaying contractors, right? And so that was the disagreement, but it got to be pretty heated. And I had to use a gavel every now and then to bring some attention to the matter so the people can pay attention to what was going on. And once they paid attention, some of those supervisors backed off about putting money in areas that they know we wasn't getting a bang for the buck. And they knew it, but they sold it to the people like I was a troublemaker. No, I wasn't a troublemaker. I was fighting for the people to stop wasteful spending, money going to projects that shouldn't have been going. And that is what I was doing. And I will continue to do that, but I would handle myself in a different way. And by the way, the mayor don't have a vote anyway. So you got to negotiate before you get to that point. We only present, the mayor of the city only present, and then the council vote. And so it won't happen like that again. And I hope that people give me a second chance and a second opportunity. Look, you learn from your mistakes. If that was a mistake, then I guarantee you that I've learned from it.
How are you going to get people to come back to Jackson or to quit leaving Jackson, fleeing to the suburbs, or even moving here, for jobs or whatever? How are you going to make that happen, get more residents?
Well, you got all these good questions. You know what? They ought to just, we ought to have a debate that where you're the moderator where you can ask all these great questions.
I don't know if I have the guts to do that, but thank you for that.
Yeah, listen. You know what I do? I pay attention. I don't try to rewrite stuff. I pay attention to what's going on in other cities, right? I look at Atlanta. I look at New Orleans, how they rebuilt New Orleans in a short period of time. Parts of Chicago is doing very well. Other parts are not doing so well. And so Jackson, Mississippi is the best kept secret. And if you want to be in Jackson, you need to stay in Jackson. And those that want to come back to Jackson need to come back to Jackson now before property get to be too high. We are experiencing that already in some parts of Jackson where rent is so high that people can't afford to live in those areas and they move further to the country. If you want a piece of the real estate in Jackson, I'm asking you to come back now, because in about 5 to 10 years, Jackson ought to be transformed to a destination area. With the museums downtown, Ferris Street have not been done. We need to get it up and running, right, where it can be an entertainment district. That's going to be one of the first things that I deal with. And I got a plan for Ferris Street. To get people to come back to shop, to eat, to drink, the party life, right? I think that we need about 15 to 20 businesses down on Ferris Street. I think that we need to have a bid to go out to different companies that are already in business that say, okay, Ferris Street would be a good place. And we give them a $500,000 to each one of those entities. We take 10 million and we give a $500,000 on a very low interest rate to say, you want to be in business, we want you to be in business in Jackson. This is what we can do for you. You can take that $500,000 and bring in the money that you have and put it towards remodeling, rebuilding, opening your business. We got to have something to offer to the people. We have spent millions and millions of dollars on Ferry Street already, and nothing has happened. And so, but it's my understanding that it was a group of folks that was controlling all of the money. And no, it shouldn't be that way. It should be many different businesses that say, okay, I want to open up a daiquiri restaurant, or I want to open up a fried chicken place, or I want to open up a blues club, whatever it is that you want to do. We can help you do that by coming to Jackson, Mississippi, and establishing Ferry Street Entertainment District. That's what I want to name it, the Entertaining District. And so that's how to get people back to downtown. Now, back to the suburbs, I would advise people right now to go out and buy some of those properties that doesn't look so good. Under my administration, I intend on coming back to beautify those communities, cut the grass, put up lights, getting in touch with those property owners to either board those properties up, cut that grass, or to fix those property up, and perhaps give them some kind of incentive to get that done, right? People in the community perhaps can buy some of those properties. But my plan is a great plan. I've already done this, and I'm going to continue it when I become the mayor of the city of Jackson.
So you're telling people then, if they come in, they buy the properties now while the price is low.
Well, the price is low.
That under your administration,
we're going to help give incentives. And what that incentive going to be, don't know yet, have not looked at the budget to see what we can do and what we can give. But guess what? That's what government is, finding ways to better the community, right? You don't look for the community to find a way to better the community. You are elected officials. You are using the tax dollars of the people, and you got to find ways to fix up those communities, give incentive to those communities where people moving in an area that was a little rough and a little tough. First of all, you can say, look, we're going to fix the streets. We're going to put up lights. We're going to trench the ditches. We're going to cut the roadways where you're able to go down and it's a beautiful road to live on. Okay. Now, what we're going to ask you to do is that you go in and you board, you gut it out, fix this place up, and it'll be a fine place to live. If you need some help from the city, when we get things in line in terms of what incentive that we can give to you, then we'll be willing to do that. We got to work as a partnership. We can't sit back and wait for the citizens to do everything, because they can go to other places and find they don't have to do anything. They can just pay their money and live there. But I want folks to be back in their capital city that they are proud of. And by the way, it's everybody capital city. You have the federal courts here. You have the Supreme Court is here. You have the governor's mansion is here, right? When you coming into downtown, I don't want downtown looking the way that it's looking now. I want to light downtown up, and you can see it from the freeway. You can cut trees on the exits. You're not going to tear up your car coming into downtown. We're going to fix the pathway into downtown and the pathway out of downtown. On the exits from 55 to 20 to 220, we need to carve out an area that where we can have that area to be a new place to shop, eat, and drink, and with zero tolerance when it comes to crime and acting of food. So people can come in and bring their kids. They want to go to a restaurant, and we just got to find that place. Flowwood found Lakeland Drive, and they're doing very well. Up in Ridgeland, the Renaissance is doing very well. And so we have to find a place in Jackson to carve out, whether it's on 220, 55, or I-20. But we got to carve it out. We got to wrap our arms around it, make it a safe place where you can go shop, eat, as well as drink.
How do the citizens of Jackson know that they can trust that you will never or that you won't get into the same situation that our current mayor is in with the alleged bribery scandal that's happening? How do they know that they can trust you not to follow in that same pathway?
Well, if they citizens of Jackson, and I appreciate that question. That's a great question. Just look at my track record. I've always been on the side of fighting corruption. I've always been on the side of making sure that tax dollars are stretched as far as possible. I've always been a supervisor to make absolutely sure that I serve the people and not be served. And I'm not going in the back room, as they say in politics, to cut the deal under the table. I do think and believe there are some candidates that are in this race, because people put them up to run so they can cut deals with them. And I don't want to throw a rock at the Republican Party, but I don't think that it was a good deal to say to the Republicans in Northeast Jackson, we're going to vote in the Democratic primary. You did not vote in the Democratic primary when Donald Trump and Kamala Harris was running. You voted in the Republican primary. And then when it was the general election, you voted in the general election and you picked and choose your president. I think that you need to do the same thing and to be honest with yourself and to your party, and the Democrats be honest to their party. And so I don't trust what they have done. Ashley Foote is running as an independent, and he told the people, and I brought, I don't know if I have that newspaper with me today, but he told the people in the newspaper that he's going to run as an independent so the Republicans can vote in the Democratic primary. That's not right. There's something going on there. Republicans or Democrats are not going to give up their primary for something that they're not going to receive or benefit from. There's going to be something that they get, receive, or somebody been promised something, and I just don't think it's right. And I think that whoever that candidate is, and we got a good idea who that candidate is, he's from North Jackson, perhaps sitting in the Senate. And I'm calling them out on it. I think that is the reason that the Republicans are voting in the Democratic primary, perhaps to sway the people to vote for that particular candidate. I don't think it's right, and I don't think that he should accept their vote. And I think that he should go on the stage and say to the Republicans, the independents, as well as the Democrat, look, I'm a Democrat. Vote in your own primary and let the Democrats vote in their own primary, and let's run this race and run this race the right way, and there won't be any secrets to what we're doing. So at this point, he has not said that. I don't know if I want to just say his name, but I will say that he's in the Senate and he's running. And I think the Republicans are in this race to vote for that gentleman. And I don't think it's right. I think they're trying to pull a quick, what is the quid pro quo? What is that word they use?
Quid pro quo. Oh, now you've got me saying it wrong.
A quick pro quo. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And that is what's happening. But the bottom line is that the Republicans ought to be voting in their own primary. They got people that running for mayor. I think they got 3 Republicans that are running for mayor in the Republican primary. They need to vote in their own primary, allow the Democrats to vote in their primary. And then when the general election come about, they vote in the general election for the candidate of their choice. I think that is the proper and right procedures. And that's what we have always done. Unless you get in something out of the deal, you're not going to cross over and vote for anybody unless you're reaping some of the benefits. I said it. David Archie said it.
Well, then let's go back then. How the citizens there know that they can trust you and not to do something that is underhanded.
Well, that's just it. I've never
Let me clarify that I'm not saying that anybody is doing anything underhanded. I don't want to put that out there that I'm saying that,
Right.
but I want to make sure that you're answering the question of that they can trust you not to do something inappropriate
I don't
or
think that,
illegal.
yeah, and I don't think that anyone should take the position of the mayor if they're going to lose the people trust in terms of doing the job and doing the job the right way. There's never been a question of my trust as a supervisor doing the right thing. My issue with the people in some cases has always been the way that I did things, but it wasn't the trust in the way that I did things by addressing an issue, but not the fact that that you cut in some deals that ought not to be. You're not trying to do right about the people. You never hear that about David Archie. You always hear that David Archie is for the people. He's going to do the right thing. And I'm going to continue to do the right thing. And I think that perhaps I'm the only candidate that is in this race would step up to the plate and say what it is. Like Northeast Jackson is trying to pull some kind of trickery move on the Democrats throughout this city. South Jackson, West Jackson, those communities that have been left out and need the most help. I don't know whether or not they're all concerned about that part of Jackson, but I am. And I don't know whether or not the candidate of their choice is concerned about West Jackson and South Jackson, but I am. And so that is why I'm willing to step up to the plate to say to the Republicans, vote in your own primary. Don't jump over here and vote for a Democrat just because you feel that perhaps you may get something out of it, talking about relationships. If that individual that you voting for have a grand relationship policy and things are well, then why Jackson looking the way that it's looking now? Because you don't have to build a relationship in order to do good things. You ought to already be doing good things for this capital city. You ought to have somebody that you can talk to in the community, neighborhood community leaders, other elected officials, and say, look, we're going to do for Jackson because it's the right thing to do. We may not trust the current administration, but we're going to do what is right about the city of Jackson because I want Jackson to succeed. You don't just come along one day, you say that you got relationships for 32 years, and those relationships is not being seen in the community. Those relationships perhaps is only benefiting you because it's certainly not benefiting the roads, the street, the abandoned properties, grass being cut, ditches need to be cleaned, bridges that are out, lighting that is out, businesses not coming to the city of Jackson. Why haven't you negotiated 5 Fortune 500 companies to come inside of Jackson because of the relationship that you have? If you claim that you've got relationships for 32 years, those relationships ought to be working for the people already. So I'm not willing to accept the fact that Republicans are going to vote in this Democratic primary to help Jackson. I'm going to say that I believe that they're voting in this Democratic primary to benefit the Republicans, period, across the board. This is a Democratic primary that we're running. The independents are not on the ballot. The Democrats have their own primary, and the Republicans have their own primary. For any candidate in the Democratic primary to say to known Republicans in this state that are elected Republicans, to say, I want you to vote in the Democratic primary. Now that is what's trustworthy. That is what the people need to know that is going on. And we have said that it's happening because when Ashley Foote, I like him a lot. He's a good guy. He represents Ward 1. He represents the majority of Republicans in Ward 1, but he's running as an independent. He said it, not me. I'm just embracing it. I'm just telling it like it is. He said that he wants Republicans to vote in the Democratic primary. And the only question I have is why didn't the Republicans vote in the Democratic primary when Donald Trump and Kamala Harris was running? Why they didn't vote in the Democratic primary to boost Kamala? Right? If they're so concerned about the Democrats. You're not concerned about the Democrats. You want to reap the benefits. And I think the 32-year senator that got him voting in the Democratic primary across the board, he won't say it, but he needs to come out and say it.
Well, let's talk. You mentioned the primaries. Those are April the 1st is when people can go vote. So anyone that's watching right now, of course, we've asked a lot of questions. You've answered a lot of questions, but I will give you 60 seconds real quick to talk to anyone who may be considering voting for you. Just give one last word to them to maybe sway them your way.
I would just say to the citizens of Jackson, I've learned from the last 4 years as a member of the Hinds County Board of Supervisors. I represented you well when it comes to taking care of the community. There's a couple issues that perhaps you have had with me. I apologize for that. Let's move on. Many times you can learn from your first mistake, and then you're able to come back and do really well. And so I've learned from that. And what I want to tell you is that I want you to go out and vote for me, because I'm going to take care of the problems that matters for the citizens of Jackson: abandoned properties, crime, paving of the streets, homelessness, mental illness, drug problem that exists up and down our highways, people running around loitering, breaking into private properties as well as public properties, people sleeping on the streets and sleeping in abandoned buildings. I'm going to address all of that. Jackson, we're going to be proud of Jackson. We want to see your property value increase, right? Anywhere there's homelessness and people sleeping on the streets, that is when property value began to go down. I'm going to fix that right away. I'm going to deal with that right away. I'm going to deal with crime right away in this city like it has never been dealt with before. You can trust me and believe that. And I am going to deal with corruption in city government like it never been before. I'm going to deal with it. And I want you to know that I'm going to deal with it. So I'm going to ask you for your vote. I come to serve and not to be served. I'm going to ask you for your vote on this coming April 1st. Vote David L. Archie, your mayor for the city of Jackson. And I thank you so much.
Tell people how they can get in touch with you if they want to be a part of your campaign, donate, get a yard sign, bumper sticker, anything like that.
You can go to Archie, David L. Archie for mayor. That's our Facebook page. And I don't mind giving out my personal numbers: 601-918-4353. That's 601-918-4353. And you can go to David L. Archie for mayor Facebook page, and I'll see you at the polls. And I thank you so much for having me. Man, this has been a great discussion. I just love it.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and talking to us. Just so everyone knows, if you did not get to hear the entire interview, it will be on our website before the end of the workday. It will be there, as well as all of the other interviews that we've done with other candidates for the city of Jackson mayor role. So you can all check that out there. I'll be back tomorrow at 1:00 with another candidate. I believe we're going to be speaking with Rodney DePriest tomorrow. He's an independent that is running. So we will be talking with him tomorrow. So make sure you tune in then. 2:30 today, our First Alert weather team is going to give you a look at the forecast with this beautiful forecast that we have. And again, David, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. And I'm sorry I got your name mixed up. Tell me that name one more time.
Kara.
I'll be looking forward of your great work in the future, Kara.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Everyone have a great day. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.